Well, folks, today we're going to look at the Joe Rogan experience, number 2289 with Darryl Cooper. And since Rogan's a little wild with copyright, I'm going to put some other images. So the video is here, but I'm not going to show video clips, but I will play the audio since I think that should be fair enough. I've reacted to other stuff on this channel, Megan Kelly, Ben Shapiro. They have no problem with me showing video, even 2 or 3 minutes of video as long as you add some commentary. But that is not the case with Rogan. So I'm going to put some images, and I think it would be best to put images of what Darryl Cooper actually says over this. So I'll play some of the audio, and we'll talk about Darryl Cooper, the guy who infamously, on Tucker Carlson's show, said Winston Churchill was the real villain of World War II, not Hitler. Are we going to get Hitler apology on here? Yeah, of course we are. Though he is definitely on his best behavior, as we'll see as I pull up some of his insane tweets, how crazy he goes on Twitter as opposed to on this episode. However, the most odd thing about this is literally Rogan not trying to convince his audience this guy's the greatest person on planet Earth. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not from Darryl Cooper. I know what Darryl Cooper believes. This guy says the Holocaust was an accident. I'm aware of him. But Rogan, he is there to literally just tell people Darryl Cooper is amazing and awesome and not racist in one shape or in any way, shape, or form. Is he going to push back on anything? Well, we'll see. Is he going to bring up the examples of the tweets that I'm now putting up on the screen? Come on, you know the answer to that. So let's check it out, and we're going to start around 20 minutes in. And as Rogan just tells people, he's so great and amazing, and how could anyone ever call him racist?
That's like
Right.
the next step. You got to take one more step and you're empathizing with those people. And so people see that, and you're empathizing with evil people, whoever it is. But I really believe that it's really good for us, like individually, and as a society too. I think it has a positive effect on us to like when we force ourselves to understand, people we don't like as human beings and just understand that their motivations are really no different than ours.
Well, this is one of the reasons why your podcast is so important, because you talk about things in this way. And this is one of the reasons why I knew you were misconstrued, or you would be misconstrued if something like that came up. Doing that is fine with Jonestown. With Jonestown, everybody's like, well, how could these people have convinced these people to drink the Kool-Aid? Why would the people do it? What kind of a monster turns into this genocidal maniac and brings people to the jungle and does this? But when you do it with any other subject, you can kind of get away with that until it gets to Nazis, until it gets to World War II. And then people have these red flags that pop up that just completely block out any objectivity.
So you'll notice what Joe is going to do during this podcast. He'll never bring up any examples. Like I said, let's look at some examples of what he says. Most infamous being, this is on the Reddit, this tweet by Martyr Made. This may be putting it too crudely for some. The picture on the left was infinitely preferable in virtually every way than the one on the right. So picture on the left, that would be Hitler after he just invaded and took over France. And the one on the right is the drag queen show that they had at the Summer Olympics that some people said was mocking the Last Supper. And honestly, when I first saw it, I thought it was mocking the Last Supper too. So, offensive. I don't like it. Hitler invading France is not better. And Rogan, throughout this entire podcast, I listened to the entire thing, he never mentions any of these controversies. I figured he would at least throw a bone and go, hey, some people are saying something about these tweets. Can you explain what this is? Not once. Unbelievable. He's the most easily duped podcaster of all time. This is the real reason the DC establishment flipped its lid when Trump brought up Hunter Biden's corrupt ties to the Ukrainian natural gas company. They all do it. They all sell the political access that voters provide to them. Responding to Ralph Nader, how do you stop it, he asks. Democracy is a disease. Tyranny is the cure. I'm getting some fascist vibes from this guy. I'm crazy. All these are bad. We can just go over all of them. I don't know, and I want to look into it more. It flies in the face of my libertarian biases on questions like these. Do you have a libertarian bias? I always thought of you as more of a non-racist fascist, if that makes sense. It does make sense, and is a decent description. I meant that I generally accept the libertarian argument that prohibition only prohibits black markets. So still bad, but considering this is martyr made, that's not even. So he's a non-racist fascist, quote unquote, quote unquote, quote unquote. Why would you ever identify as a fascist? Or until they're not, the popular imagination has it that fascism is elites imposing totalitarian control over society to protect their rule. But that's wrong. Fascism is when the vast middle says enough is enough and empowers someone to do whatever is necessary to restore order. Fascism, always popular, but since the vast middle don't produce the society's intellectuals and cultural markers, is never remembered well after the fact. So, just pro-fascist. He's even using the word fascist. He's not even smart enough to use like a different term. You know, I think that totalitarian rule could sort of work, or I think that the proletariat can rise again. Those are bad terms too. Hold on, let me try to give him some advice. Well, he could just cut out the fascism part and just say, rule of law is when the vast middle says enough is enough. I don't know, something like that. We got the anarchist, Thaddeus Russell. What percentage of American citizens should be able to present a substantive and coherent argument, orally or in writing, for why democracy is good? So he's just doing a poll. Less than 1%, says Martyr Bay, because democracy is not good, and there are no substantial, coherent arguments that it is. So what do we need? Fascism, totalitarian rule, dictatorships.
You can kind of get away with that until it gets to Nazis, until it gets to World War II, and then people have these red flags that pop up that just completely block out any objectivity. They remove all nuance. You lose all objectivity. You just anything you're saying. Imagine being a young man drafted into Hitler's army at 17 years old and not knowing what you're doing and then becoming this monster. That's a Nazi apologist, right? This is we've.
I just wanted to listen to it again. That's not anyone's argument against him. God, Rogan's going to start making me cursing. I don't want to start cursing. Oh my God. He's so. What's funny about Rogan is he calls people bad all the time. Like if you're asking about Nancy Pelosi, he says he calls her an evil, terrible witch. He said Tim Walz is a communist and he hates him. So this idea that he doesn't say people suck or he hates them or he doesn't like them is not true. Also, this whole bad guy versus good guy thing. Like, okay, so when we invaded Iraq, Rogan, do you think we're the bad guys? He does say we're the bad guys when we invaded Iraq. And like I said, if he actually believes this, then he can't go around calling anyone a bad guy. If this is really what he thinks, that he really shouldn't say the Nazis are the bad guys and like Martyr made here, that the British are the good guys. Okay, but then don't do that for anyone else either. You can't somehow say Hitler's not the bad guy, but Nancy Pelosi's the bad guy or Chuck Schumer's the bad guy. If you just want to make the argument, you should never call anyone a bad guy. I think that's dumb. I don't know how we're supposed to even talk about serial killers or rapists if we just can't ever say anyone's a bad guy. But he doesn't even believe this. He doesn't believe this. He says people are bad all the time. He says transing the kids are bad. Okay, that's fine. So as you can say, this is just a rehab for Darryl Cooper. That's what's so shocking about listening to this podcast. The worst part is Rogan, not Darryl Cooper. I mean, he's technically more racist, but Rogan is just here to rehab his image. He's not interested in asking him questions or probing him or making him answer for, like I said, these insane things that I can Google. Well, I could talk about this podcast forever, but I think I'm going to end it right there. I think I've brought enough evidence that Darryl Cooper identifies as a fascist, says he's a fascist, wants authoritarian rule, because he actually says he wants authoritarian rule, which is amazing. Most people don't admit this. Says democracy is a disease, tyranny is a cure, says that it's better for Hitler to invade and slaughter all the people in France than it is for a drag queen event, even one that's mocking Christianity. So maybe I'll do a part 2 on this, but I'm just going to end it here. Like and subscribe. Thanks, bro. Check out our other videos too.